In this video, I will show you how to have more motivation to create anything and how you can actually have unending inspiration that lasts forever. At the end, I will provide 3 actionable things that you can start doing today, and I promise you, if you do at least 2 of them, your life will actually change. If you're like me, sometimes you might have a lot of inspiration to create something, but this inspiration sometimes just goes away really quick, and sometimes before you even start. Like, I imagine that it would be fun to do something, but then I start thinking that it would be very hard and I will not handle it for some reason. So I've been making games for 12 years now, and I know this too well. Like, it's really hard to keep myself motivated working on like the same project, and more specifically getting it to a finished state, because it might take like many months. And I also wanted to learn other things in parallel while making games, like learn to make music or, as you've guessed, making YouTube videos. I think by now I actually figured out the most creative blockers that I, myself, and other creative people face. And I want to share with you how I managed to overcome them, and I want to give you some actionable things that you can do right after watching this video. So first, let's figure out why this exact scenario happens, like when you get inspired to do something and then this inspiration may fade even before you do anything. So as most things that block creativity, it has to do with fear. Because most of the time, expressing creativity makes you vulnerable. You sort of express your inner voice that you could even think your actual self. And then you put it out and you allow people to criticize it. Someone even may laugh at you or humiliate you. And it's really fucking scary, especially because if this is your actual sincere self, then this is like an attack, like a personal attack on you, right? It may feel that way, and our ego certainly makes it seem that way. And this kind of teaches us to push this voice back, to protect it, to put many layers around it, and to not allow it to come out easily, because our ego kind of thinks that it's some tender thing that has to be protected. But if we don't express our creative voice, it may become the voice of suffering. And the thing to understand here is that this voice cannot be wrong. It cannot be criticized in any way, because if it's a sincere expression of your creativity, it can't be wrong. It can be measured and it can be criticized. It's just your expression of your inner creative voice. True creativity is not something to be measured or judged, it's just something to be expressed. So we are very used to think in terms of value, like before we actually create anything, we calculate the expected value in our heads. And for me, I struggled with that a lot. So I wasn't really improving, learning, making mistakes. I was actually kind of gathering experience of some sort. I was like learning about things, but I didn't really practice them all that much. This is especially true for YouTube, because I wasn't really doing many videos for like many years. And if I just started, I know like initially they would be very bad, but I would make some mistakes, I would learn from them, and yeah, I would just get good way quicker. So a thing to remember here is that a mistake is only a failure if you stop. So sometimes we might think that certain art would be actually great for us, but we just can't see ourselves figuring it out. Like, it seems just too hard for us and like we will never manage. And the main problem here is in the words. We can't see ourselves figuring it out. And so many times the main obstacles is our absence of belief that we can actually do it. If we believe it's too hard to overcome an obstacle, it actually becomes too hard to overcome. We might convince ourselves that we just lack talent and we're just initially at a disadvantage and we shouldn't waste time. And this is again our ego just protecting us. And in this instance, it just enforces a belief about ourselves that we already have. So if we believe that we can do it, our ego will just enforce that and make it our actual reality. So can we actually overcome that? And the key here is actually changing the way we see ourselves. Start believing that we can overcome any obstacle, that whatever problem we have, we just need time to learn and practice, and eventually we'll overcome anything. If you're looking for excuses to give up, you'll always find them, sooner or later. So you have to just not look for them and only look for excuses to continue going. And once you find them, just fix your gaze on them. So as you see, the most things that block our creativity are in our beliefs about ourselves or about the world. And it can be hard to change those beliefs, and this is certainly very hard to do just by talking, so we should also be doing. And here are 3 things that you can actually start doing to kind of increase your creative voice and your motivation to create. And I promise you, as I've said, if you try to do at least 2 things, like sincerely really try, your life will actually change. Express creativity every day. So this one sounds stupidly simple, but it actually changed my life recently. A few years ago, I learned about Beeple Crab, and he's maybe most known for his everydays. So for the past 6,000 days, he was making a digital artwork every day. When you have this sort of schedule, your view of what you do actually changes in extreme ways. And I wanted to steal that idea, but actually apply it to any form of art. So right now I am committed to putting out any kind of creative work every day. So I make a post with any kind of content, and it has to be like something creative. And this changed everything like very quick. I was really surprised. I had a lot of problems making music. Like I hit sort of stagnation period where my skills didn't really increase, and I was really judging my work a lot. And so this challenge kind of forced me to put out something unfinished every day. And so I initially just thought that most of my works will be kind of shit, and that's okay. I have to focus on consistency and not quality. Ideally, I want to just stop judging my work at all. I want to just express some creativity that is within me right now. And so this challenge really helped me with that. And it even helped me to start do other things. Like, for example, I tried writing, like finally, because it was in my head for a little while, like for a few years. I just wanted to make some sort of a narrative or come up with a sort of a universe. And I mean, I just kind of started, but at one day I was just like, maybe I should just write a text of some sort, and I did it a few times, and I'm starting to really like it. So yeah, I really can't recommend this enough, and the important thing is to keep it really simple, to allow yourself to make something even within 5 minutes, because I had days where I was just extremely tired. Sometimes I forgot to do my day's post, and I just do it like right before sleep when I'm already really sleepy. And so that's okay, because I know I don't have to push myself. Like if I chose to draw, which I also do, I may be drawing something like really simple, just a few strokes, and that's it. So the rules really are simple. Just make some sort of creative work every day, just sort of a piece of content that you can post somewhere. It's not really necessary to post it to make it public, but for me, I found out that it kind of helps. It kind of helps that, you know, at least some people will see that and maybe expect that you post something. It kind of gives you kind of gives you more motivation to stick to it. And I also advise to keep a streak counter, like of how many consecutive days you did, because it really motivates when you have like 30 or more days. It's kind of, to stop now would be like very upsetting, and you just kind of push yourself to go through, but don't push yourself too hard, of course. And yeah, try to explore different kinds of art forms. Try to one day like maybe write, another day draw something, maybe make something musical with somehow using some instruments. Just really try to explore more things, and don't really spend a lot of time on it. Only spend more time if you're feeling inspired, if you feel like you really want to finish this work somehow, make it like work on it more, but keep it low. Keep it always under 5 or 10 minutes for the most days, so you don't feel too overwhelmed. and you don't feel like the bar like raises higher and higher, because then you might lose motivation to do it. It actually has to be fun. So that's the most important thing. So the next one is try something you're sure you can't do. And this one goes very well with the first one, because it really helps you explore your creative potential, what kind of things you may get into, right? Because many times we just kind of seal off certain activities by just thinking that they're not for us, that we just simply can't do them. And for me, this kind of was with music, because I spent many years just trying to learn some sort of an instrument to be able to make music in some way, because I really felt like I have this desire in me. But initially I tried learning guitar and it was very hard. Yeah, it was initially fun, but then once I get to some more advanced stuff, it just became really hard and not fun anymore. And still I had no idea how to just create my own music. I could only do like learn some songs that I like. And so I was always kind of thinking that music was too hard for me. I also tried DAWs, and this is like was so overwhelming because of how much possibilities you have, how much features and functions and stuff, and it was just too much. And then one day I just got my hands onto an analog synthesizer, and it was just kind of best of both worlds, because it didn't really require some kind of mechanical skill like a guitar does, and also it didn't have an overwhelming amount of features. I could just twist around with some knobs, kind of press some keys, and once I did that, like initial first seconds, I was just, wow, this is really fun. And I initially just instantly saw myself doing that for a very long time. Like it felt like it will always be fun. So try something that you think it's not for you, but you kind of still have a desire to learn. So maybe try some different ways. So like if you want to draw, maybe try not only brushes, but maybe pens, maybe try some kind of digital art. I don't know. I think there are many ways to practice any form of art. So just be creative about the ways you try to. And the last one is jump into a role for a month. So this last one is actually about commitment, and I'm sure if you stick to it for a month, it can actually change your life, or at least the way you see your creativity and ways to express it. This mostly has to do with the way we see ourselves. We usually put a bunch of labels on us and judge our abilities according to them. This is where the imposter syndrome comes from. It's usually when we don't see ourselves having a sort of professional label, and we are in a place where everyone's supposed to have that label. It is good to detach ourselves from that, but it can be very hard. So one thing we can do is to practice having that one certain label for a time. To do this, we just say, this month I'm a music maker, or a YouTuber, or a dancer, or a painter, whatever. Whatever sort of artist you kind of would dream to become, maybe, but we're too afraid to try. You just say that you are that sort of artist, but for a month. You just kind of envision the way this sort of person would be. You visualize it, what they do, what their life would be about, how would they go about their day, how often would they practice their art. And once you visualize that, you just kind of practice that. So you live the way this person would live. And it doesn't matter what kind of skills you have, it's about feeling like that person. And it's about creating something. Doesn't matter what quality, right? And so once you really imagine how it feels to devote yourself to some sort of art, to practice it often, this is the kind of feeling that is very addicting. But of course you might try something that you don't actually really like that much, and this is why this 1 month period is very good, because you can kind of also practice getting into something and then just realizing that it's not for you. And this is one of the more scary things too, because it's really hard to devote yourself to something if you know that like you might waste time doing that. Like you maybe spent like few years learning piano just to realize that you don't really like playing it. And I think for some people that's what happened in their childhood with some forms of arts. And yeah, this can be really frustrating, but it's actually, you never really waste any time. If you practice something, if you try, you kind of learn something about yourself, you kind of develop other like artistic views, the ways to see the world in different lights. You know, when you learn to draw, you kind of see things differently. Your brain might like dissect how everything looks and what kind of blocks it is composed of. So whatever forms of art you try, even if it's not really for you, it's still a very, very good experience. It's a very good learning experience, and it can show you other sides of you, right? So if you really stick to it for a month, if you really delve into it, get really deep, I believe it can change the way you view creativity, no matter the result, right? And then it won't be scary to get deep into something else. Exploring is not scary, it's fun, and you never know what kind of treasures you might find inside yourself. So there you go, 3 ways to nurture your own creativity to become more motivated and inspired every day. On this channel, I want to share more things I learned about creativity from my experience, and I also want to share my creative journey as a solo indie game developer, making the most replayable auto butler in the world using Rust engine, baby. Thank you for watching and have a creative day.